There I was, immersed up to my elbows in a pile of marked-down scarves at Gold Designs, the department store where I work and practically live, when I first heard him speak. "Hey, is this the line for the register, or are you just monopolizing the best bargains?" At first, I was slightly irritated. After all, hunting for the top deals requires concentration. But then I saw him, Bobby, with a lopsided grin and a camera hanging around his neck. "No queue here," I replied, straightening my vintage blouse that I wore with pride. "Just ensuring these gems don't escape." He chuckled warmly. "Mind if I join in? I'm hunting for something to add flair to a photo shoot." "I'm a photographer," he added, which was quite obvious from the camera. We both laughed, and our chat took off effortlessly. Bobby had a keen sense of style, likely honed by his career. He was at Gold Design scouting accessories for a fashion shoot. I shared how I had a knack for assembling eye-catching outfits from sale racks and leftovers. Our conversation meandered through topics like fashion photography and our favorite city spots for uncovering unique finds. Before we realized it, an hour had slipped by while we continued to dig through the bins together. "You should come to the fashion show this weekend," Bobby suggested. "See how these scarves look in action, not just coiled up in a bin." I hesitated momentarily. I was more accustomed to cleaning up after such events than attending them. Yet there was something about Bobby's straightforward charm that nudged me to accept. "Sure, I'll be there. It'll be great to see the scarves on display," I agreed. "Perfect. It's a date then," he said, his eyes twinkling, quickly adding, "Well, not a date unless you want it to be." We exchanged numbers and went our separate ways, not before he purchased an outrageously showy scarf I had recommended in jest. The rest of my day zipped by, my thoughts returning repeatedly to our easy rapport. Bobby was certainly handsome, but more than that, he genuinely valued my insights, a rare trait in the fashion world often fixated on price tags. His appreciation for my budget-friendly fashion sense was genuinely refreshing. Eagerly anticipating the weekend, I was excited to meet Bobby again and see the fashion show. He was true to his word, greeting me outside the venue with his camera ready. The show was a spectacle, with the models looking fabulous, and the scarves we chose together providing the perfect burst of color. After the show, we retreated to a cozy cafe to continue our conversation over coffee. Facing him, I felt an undeniable connection. We discussed everything from our favorite music to our mutual love for thrift shopping. Bobby, amused by my stories of victorious bargain hunts, complimented my eye for style. "Ever thought about doing this professionally?" he inquired as he sipped his coffee. "Every day of my life," I confessed. As I ventured deeper into the world of styling, I realized how crucial connections were to make it a full-time career. It wasn't long after my first foray into this realization that Bobby introduced me to his family. The warmth from his parents, Sophia and Kyle, made me feel welcome right from the start. Sophia embraced me immediately, and Kyle greeted me with a genuine smile. We gathered for dinner at their charmingly decorated home, where I couldn't help but praise their cozy interior. Sophia smiled at my compliment and thanked me warmly. The evening was unfolding nicely until Bobby's sister, Alexis, entered. Her demeanor was a stark contrast to the warmth I had experienced upon arrival. Dressed impeccably, she scrutinized my chic yet affordable outfit and smirked dismissively. "So, you're the girl Bobby keeps talking about," she remarked, her voice tinged with skepticism and a hint of disdain. Trying to keep the mood light, I smiled and said, "That seems to be me." Our conversation took a positive turn when Kyle complimented my outfit, appreciating my knack for finding great deals. "You look wonderful tonight, Lori. Bobby has told us about your talent for hunting bargains." I thanked him, feeling a bit of pride. Yes, I love turning fashion into a treasure hunt. It's more fun when you find real gems among the discounts. Sophia nodded in agreement, but Alexis just rolled her eyes and said, "I can't imagine wearing something so economical. I prefer the finer things, not the leftovers from a sale rack." Kyle frowned at Alexis's blunt remark. Alexis, you might learn a thing or two about saving from Lori. Alexis scoffed. Please, I'm not about to start pinching pennies and miss out on the best. Life's too short for secondhand silk. The room went silent, and I felt a wave of embarrassment. Bobby, however, only offered Alexis a weak smile and remained silent, which stung a bit since he didn't stand up for me. As we left dinner, I couldn't hold back my feelings any longer. Bobby, why didn't you defend me? Your sister was rude. He sighed, a look of discomfort crossing his face. Lori, I know Alexis can be tough, but she's still my sister. I need to support her. But supporting her doesn't mean allowing her to disrespect me or anyone else, I countered, feeling frustrated. Bobby looked conflicted, running his hands through his hair. It's complicated. We've been close, and I don't want to create drama. Can we just overlook her comments for now? I agreed reluctantly, but I knew this was an issue we'd need to confront if our relationship was to move forward. He needed to understand that I wouldn't just accept such treatment, not from Alexis or anyone else. After that dinner, my interactions with Alexis only worsened, with her continuously targeting my lifestyle choices. One bright afternoon, the tension reached a peak. As I walked to check out a sale at a boutique, Alexis's mocking voice rang out. There she goes, the bargain bin queen herself. I turned to find Alexis with her group of friends, all smirking at me across the street. Heading to grab another glamorous discount? She jeered, her sarcasm thick in the air. Maintaining my composure, I responded clearly, Actually, yes. I wasn't going to let her or anyone else diminish my joy in finding beauty and value in unexpected places. They were running a promotion on their luxury line, half off for the day. I mentioned it to Alexis and her friends, suggesting they check it out since it was such a steal. To my surprise, Alexis's friends paused, exchanging intrigued looks. One of them, a tall girl with sharp features, seemed genuinely interested. Really? Half off? That sounds like a great deal. Another chimed in. Yeah, let's go see. And just like that, they crossed the street toward the boutique, leaving a visibly upset Alexis behind. She huffed and stomped her foot, clearly not used to being ignored. But it wasn't just on the street where confrontations occurred. They followed me to work too. On one particularly busy day at Gold Design, Alexis strutted in, her demeanor as haughty as ever. She browsed through the racks of new arrivals and then approached the register where I was assisting another customer. Hey, I need a favor, she interrupted loudly, cutting off the person I was helping. She held up a sleek, expensive-looking dress from our latest collection. Can you give me a discount on this? She asked. I'm sorry, Alexis, but that's a new arrival. We don't have discounts on the latest collection, I explained, maintaining a professional tone. Come on, Lori, we're practically family. You can make an exception, she insisted, her voice edged with entitlement. That's not how it works, Alexis. I can't give out discounts at my discretion, especially not on new stock. Her face turned a shade of red and her voice rose. That's ridiculous. You're just being difficult because you don't like me. I'm going to talk to Bobby about this. Feel free to do so, but our store policy won't change, I replied firmly, handing her back the dress. She threw the dress onto the counter and stormed out, muttering about how unhelpful I was and how she'd make sure her brother knew about my poor attitude. True to her word, Bobby called me that evening, his tone frustrated. Lori, my sister came home really upset today. Why wouldn't you help her out? She just wanted a little discount. Bobby, you know I work in retail. I can't just hand out discounts. It's against store policy and it could get me in trouble, I explained, trying to keep my voice steady despite my growing annoyance. But she's my sister. Can't you just make an exception this once? He pressed. No, Bobby, I really can't. It's my job on the line. You wouldn't want me to compromise my work, would you? I countered. We ended the conversation there, but the issue remained unresolved. The constant tug of war over Alexis's expectations and my refusal to bend the rules was straining not just my relationship with her, but with Bobby as well. After the discount debacle, I did my best to keep my distance from Alexis, but family dinners made that nearly impossible. At each gathering, she seemed more intent on flaunting her latest conquest, a wealthy guy she'd started seeing. She'd throw around comments about the lavish lifestyle she was expecting, each one feeling like a tiny jab at my more modest ways. During one such dinner, she was bubbling over with details about her upcoming wedding plans. "Oh, you wouldn't believe the size of the diamond he's getting me. It's simply massive," she boasted, ensuring everyone at the table could hear. Bobby, sitting next to me, chimed in with genuine enthusiasm. "Yeah, sis, make sure you snag that guy before he realizes you're way out of his league," he laughed, nudging her playfully. The conversation drifted to other topics, but the undercurrent of Alexis's bragging lingered. It was clear that navigating this family dynamic would be more challenging than any discount day at Gold Designs. She thrived in the limelight, but as Bobby and I settled into the car after the evening's festivities, his demeanor softened. "You're quiet tonight? Everything okay?" he asked, concern coloring his tone as he reached over to squeeze my hand. "I'm fine, just thinking about our plans," I said, managing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. His face brightened, eager to shift the topic to a more personal matter. "Speaking of which, I've been meaning to ask you something," he began, his voice trailing off as he fumbled in his jacket pocket, pulling out a small box. My heart raced in anticipation. "Lori, will you marry me?" he asked, opening the box to reveal a beautiful, simple ring that matched my taste perfectly. Tears welled up in my eyes, born from the swell of joy and a deep sense of relief. "Yes, Bobby, of course I will," I managed through the tears. In the months that followed, wedding planning consumed us. I immersed myself in every detail, channeling my passion for design into creating the perfect day. I ordered a bespoke wedding dress featuring a large, distinctive bow and meticulously sketched out each element of the decor, from the photography areas to the table settings, all maintaining a cohesive and elegant theme. At home, our living room floor became a canvas of my plans, strewn with fabric swatches and invitation samples. Bobby often watched, impressed by my dedication. "This is going to be incredible, Lori. You have such a great eye," he would say, admiring a sketch of the ceremonial archway I had designed. "I just want it to be perfect. I want our guests to feel as special as we will on that day," I replied, my gaze drifting across the room, visualizing the culmination of our efforts. Our folder of wedding plans thickened by the day, filled with ideas and confirmations. Occasionally, Bobby would browse through it, nodding approvingly at my latest additions or suggesting subtle refinements. However, the wedding preparations took an unexpected turn when Alexis announced her wedding date, curiously set just 3 months before ours. I couldn't shake the feeling she was attempting to overshadow me. Her fiancé, a polite man from a wealthy background, seemed nice enough but largely unaware of Alexis's competitive nature. One afternoon, I was out with my future mother-in-law, Sophia, picking out last-minute decorations for both Alexis's and my upcoming weddings. We decided to take a break and grab some coffee at a nearby cafe. Sophia appeared troubled as she stirred her coffee. "I just don't understand Alexis sometimes. She's leaving everything to the last minute. It's like she doesn't care about the details at all," she confided. I nodded, sipping my coffee. "Yeah, it's a lot to pull together a wedding." Sophia gave me an awkward smile. "I hate to impose, especially with your wedding coming up, but maybe you could give her some advice? She seems to respect your style, even if she doesn't show it." "I can try," I said, though the thought of collaborating closely with Alexis filled me with trepidation. The opportunity arose at a family dinner later that week, an event always tinged with the usual tension due to the underlying rivalry that Alexis seemed eager to perpetuate. During dessert, Sophia brought up the topic. "Lori has been doing such a wonderful job planning her wedding," she began, casting a meaningful glance my way. "Maybe she could give you some tips." Alexis, who had been animatedly discussing her honeymoon plans, paused and turned to look at me. Her expression was unreadable. "Thanks," she said slowly, perhaps considering the offer. Alexis declined her mother's offer with a quick, "No thanks, Mom, I've got it covered." I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly added, "Of course, whatever works best for you." "Yeah, I want my wedding to be unique, not like anyone else's," Alexis added, her tone carrying a sharp edge. The conversation shifted, but her pointed remark hung heavily in the air. I just shrugged internally. If Alexis wanted to manage everything on her own, that was fine by me. It meant less drama to navigate. As the days wound down to Alexis's wedding, I dove deep into finalizing my plans. My days were brimming with calls to vendors, dress fittings for the large bowed gown I adored, and meticulous meetings with the decorator to perfect every detail. Arriving at Alexis's wedding venue, my heart dropped. It was as if I had stepped into a mirror image of the wedding I had been meticulously planning for months. The floral arrangements, the decor, even the small, distinctive touches I had prided myself on selecting, it all seemed to have been lifted straight from my sketches. "Can you believe this? It's all so gorgeous," Sophia exclaimed, blissfully unaware of the design's origins. I managed only a nod, my eyes scanning the setup. It was not just a resemblance, it was a carbon copy. My mind raced, trying to piece together how this could have happened. Then Alexis made her entrance, and my breath caught in my throat. She was wearing the exact dress I had custom ordered, down to the last detail, clutching the bouquet I had so carefully designed. It felt like a punch to the gut. I pulled out my phone and dialed Bobby, my hands trembling. "Bobby, where are you? We need to talk. Now." He picked up, his voice strained. "Hey, I'm at the back with the guys. What's up?" How could Alexis's wedding look exactly like what we planned? The decorations, her dress, even the flowers. How, Bobby? There was a pause, a moment of silence that felt like an eternity. "Lori, it's all a misunderstanding. You're overthinking it," he replied. Overthinking it? I was incredulous, barely believing what I was hearing. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Ending the call, I marched over to where Sophia was standing with Alexis and her groom, just as another relative was gushing about the decor. "It's just stunning, Alexis. The creativity here is amazing. How did you come up with all this?" they asked, their voice filled with admiration. Alexis glanced at me, her smile faltering for a moment before she regained her composure. "Oh, I've been planning this for months. Wanted to keep it a surprise." I couldn't hold back. "Really, Alexis? When did you start planning? Because it looks exactly like the plans I have at home, the ones I showed to Bobby." The area went quiet and heads turned. Alexis's face flushed a deep red, but it was Bobby's reaction that captured my attention. He hurried over, his expression pleading. "Lori, let's not do this here. It's her big day," he whispered, trying to lead me away by the elbow. Ignoring his attempts, I pressed on. "No, Bobby, I want to know why my wedding, our wedding, has been replicated here today." Sophia, looking between us, finally spoke up. "What's going on, Lori? Are you saying these are your ideas?" "Yes," I said firmly. "Every single one of them, and the dress. That's my dress, the one I chose for our wedding." The crowd murmured, and Alexis's husband looked between us, confusion written all over his face. Bobby finally spoke, his voice calm but strained as he tried to navigate the unfolding drama. "But Lori, the wedding is months away. I thought it wouldn't matter. Alexis liked the ideas, and it saved money." Bobby tried to explain as the guests looked on, some with open curiosity and others with evident discomfort. Sophia, heartbroken, covered her mouth with her hand. The weight of betrayal sank in, not just from Alexis, but from Bobby, the man I was supposed to marry who had so casually handed over my dreams to appease his sister. "Bobby, how could you think it's okay to give my wedding dress to your sister?" I demanded, my voice sharp, attracting more attention. "It's just a dress, Lori," he replied dismissively, which only fueled my anger. "You can wear it again, and no one will remember by the time we have our wedding." "It's not a disposable item," I retorted, shocked by his callousness. "That's not the point, Bobby. It's about respect, about the promises we made to each other. How could you disrespect me like this for her? Alexis, standing a few feet away with a smug smile, couldn't resist gloating. I just wanted to look beautiful today, and I did. Thanks for the dress, by the way. It's nice to know I'll wear it before you do. Makes it extra special, doesn't it? Her words stung like a slap in the face. The crowd murmured, some in shock, others unsure of where to look. I'm not doing this, Bobby. I can't marry someone who thinks so little of me, someone who sacrifices my happiness for his sister's whims, I declared loudly, my voice steady despite the inner turmoil. Before he could respond, his parents stepped forward. Sophia looked heartbroken, and Kyle's face was set in a hard line of disapproval. Bobby, what you did was wrong. You should have stood by Lori, not undermine her, Sophia said, her voice tinged with sadness. Kyle chimed in, his tone harsh. And Alexis, we are ashamed of your actions, stealing someone else's ideas and gloating about it. That's not how we raised you. Finally, the groom's parents, who had been quietly observing, spoke up, their words grave and full of disappointment. You can't start a family life based on lies, Alexis's future father-in-law stated sternly. Hearing this, Alexis lost any semblance of control. I don't care about any of you. I'll do what I want, she screamed at her in-laws, her voice shrill and filled with defiance. It was the last straw for her groom. He stepped up to the microphone, his voice loud and clear. I can't do this. I can't marry into deceit. He looked directly at Alexis, his decision firm. I'm sorry, but there will be no wedding today. The reaction was immediate. Alexis's face crumpled and she started yelling at him, at her parents, at anyone who would listen. Bobby, ever the peacemaker, tried to soothe her, but the damage was done. His parents looked on, dismayed and disappointed. This is all your fault, Lori, Bobby spat out, his words laced with blame. No, Bobby, I said, my voice calm but cold. Alexis ruined her wedding day, and you chose not to see what was happening because you didn't want to upset her. I walked out, not looking back, the sound of arguing fading behind me as I stepped outside. The cool air felt like a balm. Breaking up with Bobby was like ripping off a Band-Aid. It hurt like hell at first, but it was necessary for healing. After the disastrous end to Alexis's non-wedding, I realized I couldn't just let it all slide. There were too many expenses piled up, too many plans trashed, and too much at stake for me to simply walk away without addressing the fallout. Due to Bobby's actions, I sought legal counsel immediately. On the day of the court hearing, the atmosphere in the courtroom was charged. The judge initiated the proceedings, and my attorney began to build our case by presenting various documents, contracts, and statements from different suppliers. The pivotal moment arrived when Sophia, unexpectedly, agreed to testify. Her willingness to speak provided a boost to my confidence. As my lawyer queried, Sophia, could you describe the events before the canceled wedding? Sophia, with a voice both steady and remorseful, responded, My son took the wedding dress and decorations designated for Lori's wedding and gave them to his sister without Lori's permission. I was quite upset by this. When asked if this incident influenced Lori's decision to call off the wedding, Sophia confirmed, Absolutely, it was the final straw for her, and I fully understand her decision. Her words cast a somber mood, and she looked at me with sympathy. While Bobby's attorney tried to downplay the whole situation as a trivial misunderstanding, the evidence stacked against him was formidable. After extensive deliberation, the judge sided with me, recognizing that Bobby's actions had indeed caused significant financial and emotional harm to me. The judgment favored me, awarding sufficient compensation. With this compensation, I embarked on a journey I had longed for, enrolling in a stylist course focused on wedding fashion. This financial boost allowed me to leave my job at Gold Designs and dedicate myself entirely to my new career path. Within months, my business was thriving, evidenced by a steady flow of client bookings and enthusiastic messages. One day, while organizing my portfolios, Sophia called. Lori, I just wish things had turned out differently with Bobby, she said. I echoed her sentiment, though I pondered if, without those challenges, I might never have discovered my true calling. After hanging up, I surveyed my studio, now brimming with fabrics, sketches, and glowing client reviews. I realized I was exactly where I was meant to be, fully engaged in a profession I loved. Despite the rocky journey, sometimes life's unexpected detours guide us to the most fulfilling destinations.